How's it going, everybody, and welcome to the channel. Today we have here the ToolkitRC's M6 portable charger. It is the world's smallest multi-function 150 watt 10 amp color LCD screen smart balance charger. Now I say multi-function because it can charge, discharge, and balance a variety of batteries, including LiPo batteries, high voltage LiPo batteries, lithium iron batteries, lithium ion batteries, nickel metal hydride, and also lead acid batteries. But also it is a voltage servo checker, a receiver signal tester, and a customizable power output supply as well. So taking a look at this small wonder, on the top we have the LCD display, and it will be in color this time. We have the exit key, up and down arrow keys, and the enter key on the bottom. Now they are touch sensitive keys, by the way. And on the left is the XT60 power input ports. It supports DC power input from 7 to 28 volts. There's the 3-pin servo port and the 5-volt 2.1 amp USB output port. And on the right we have the XT60 output port and the 2 to 6S balance connector port. Now ventilation in the front as well as in the back, and on the bottom we have this huge cooling fan. For the size of this little charger, this fan is pretty huge. And there's a couple of fold outs that you can fold out to make it stand up above the table so that the fan can suck air in and push it out through these ventilation holes. Now this is a pre-production model, and the casing as well as the fold out stands will be strengthened in the final purchasable units. Now I've done a review on its bigger brother, the ToolkitRC's M8 charger, and that one is a 300 watt 15 amp portable charger for 2 to 8S batteries, and here it is right here. Now I carry this with me all the time, and it is my go-to charger for all of my smaller size batteries, since my largest battery to power this up is a 1500 milliamp 4S battery. Now, so the M6 is capable of doing the exact same thing that this bigger M8 charger is capable of doing, but just in a smaller form factor and slightly less powerful. So the M6 charger comes in this little box here. So let's open it up, and that's how it looks like. So it comes with this USB to USB cable for firmware updates, as well as this instructional pamphlet as well. So let's go ahead and measure how heavy the M6 charger is going to be coming in. Go ahead and turn on my scale, let it zero out. So the charger will come in at just 82 grams. Now let's go ahead and measure up its dimensions here. So from top to bottom is going to come in at 49.5 millimeters, or roughly 50 millimeters. And from side to side is going to come in at 69 millimeters. And the thickness will come in at 25.9 or 26 millimeters. The M6 is also a standalone battery checker. So to quickly check the status of a battery, plug in a battery on the output port and connect the balance connector. So we have a battery here. So let's just go ahead and plug it in and connect the balance connector. You want to do it all the way to the left with the two little notches on the balance connector facing down. Let's go ahead and place it right here and make sure I got it all the way to the left. And here you can check the voltage of the individual cells, the overall voltage, and also the percentage value of the charge that is left in the battery as well. Now you can page over So it says voltage right here. It's pretty hard to see. Just hit enter and you can scroll to check internal resistance. But you are not able to check the internal resistance because we do not have an input power source plugged in. So let's go ahead and power it up. All right, so it's powered up, and as you can see, it is in color this time. And we have 4 modes. So we have the charge mode, we have the measure mode, we have the output mode, and we have also the settings mode, just like the bigger brother, the M8 charger. So you can scroll through the modes by sliding the arrow keys down or up and go backwards, or you can tap the direction of the arrow as well. But I find it a little bit more accurate by sliding your fingers. As you saw there, it jumped down instead of jumping up. Right, let's go ahead and hit enter in the charge mode here. So here we see that there is a preset profile called LiPo AT, and it is LiPo Auto Detect. And also, if you scroll over, there is an empty slot called new and another empty profile slot also called new. So you can go ahead and preset 3 profiles here. Let's go back to LiPo AT and hit enter. So you can either charge the battery, you can either discharge the battery, or you can storage charge or discharge the battery as well. If I scroll a little bit further, you are able to change the battery type. It's kind of hard to see. I'm gonna angle the display here. So if you hit enter, you are able to change from LiPo to high voltage LiPo, lithium ion, nickel metal hydride, and also lead acid battery. Let's go back down to LiPo battery here. Okay, hit enter. And the next value that you can change is the N voltage of the battery. It is preset to 4.2 volts in the LiPo selection. So you can either go down in value here or go up in value here. Okay, I'm going to leave it at 4.2. And you can scroll down and change the cell. It is set to auto detect, but you are able to change it from auto to 1S, 2S, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 6S. This one can charge up to 6S. The M8, the bigger brother, can charge up to 8S. Okay, so let me go ahead and scroll down and select auto detect. And you can also change the charge current. It is set to 2 amps. So you can go down in value, and also you can go up in value as well. Leave it at 2 amps. And you can also change the discharge current. It is set to 2 amps. Just like the charge current, you can go down and you can go up in value as well. All right, so let's go ahead and hit enter or scroll over. So let's go ahead and charge up a battery. Okay, plugging in the battery. Balance connector. All right, so we are ready to charge up a battery. So let's go ahead and hit enter. So it's going to prompt you charge to 16.8 volts by default. You can either hit OK or cancel. Let me go ahead and hit OK. And it is starting to charge up this battery. So way on the top, you see that there is the voltage for the input battery, the time elapsed, and the temperature of the device. And we also have the voltage for the charging battery on the top in big red letters, and the charge current and the charge power below that, the capacity charged so far in milliamps, and the charged value in percentage. Okay, stop working, hit OK, and let's go back to the modes and hit over to the measuring mode. Hit OK, and in the battery page, go ahead and hit OK. Now this is the same page as the quick battery voltage checker that we checked out earlier. But now, since we have an input power supply, we are able to test out the resistance. All right, so let's go ahead and hit enter on that voltage. Oops. Sometimes it jumps around. Okay, so let's change it to internal resistance. Hit OK. Scroll down to test and hit test. And it is testing, and it has read the internal resistance values of this battery. All right, so that is how you check the internal resistance. Let me go ahead and exit out of there and go back to the charge mode. And let's go ahead and discharge this battery. All right, hit enter, and it is going to prompt you discharge to a set value of 3.5 volts. You can either hit OK, or you can hit cancel, or you can just scroll all the way up, hit enter, and you can decrease the value, or you can also increase the value to your desired voltage. So I'm going to hit it at 3.5 or leave it there, and I'm going to hit OK. All right, so it is now discharging, and by default the energy that is being discharged is set to dissipate internally, but in the settings you can change it to recycle, and once it is set to recycle in the discharge mode, the discharged energy will now be recycled into the input battery source. So in order to do that, let me go ahead and stop the discharge process, and let's scroll out, and let's go to the settings mode. And here you can change the discharge mode. It is set to discharge internally. You can hit enter and change that to recycle. So let's go on back to discharging the battery. Okay, now as you can see, the prompt is a little different. It says discharge to the same 3.5 volt by default, but now they're asking you for an input limit. All right, so that is the limit for the input battery. So you want to go up to 16 point, oops, you want to hit enter, and you can change the value of that input limit. I'm going to hit it to 16.8 and hit OK. So we can either cancel, we can either hit OK. I'm going to hit OK. Now here we are discharging this battery, and the energy from this battery is not just going into the charger and getting dissipated. It is actually going into the input battery source. Now the input battery needs to be a rechargeable type power source for this function to work. All right, so when storage charging or discharging, the procedure is identical to this discharge mode. All right, can you hear that fan working? Listen carefully. And that is the sound of the fan. So there are other cool usage this charger has to offer. It is a servo voltage checker and a receiver signal tester, both of which are great tools to have. But one of my favorite functions is the customizable power supply. So in this mode, you can upscale or downscale the input power and output the power to power up external devices, such as a soldering iron, for example. But my favorite use is to bind a quadcopter that is difficult to bind since we only have two hands. All right, so here we have a quadcopter, and we're going to put the receiver into a binding mode. And so the whole quadcopter will be able to be bound to either a new transmitter, or maybe this is a brand new quadcopter that needs to be bound to your transmitter. Now, you know the procedure. You're going to have to power up the quadcopter at the same time hitting that little bind button on the receiver, and that usually requires more than two hands. So this is when the ToolkitRC comes in handy in the output mode. So let's go ahead and hit enter on the output mode in the power page. And here we are able to also customize the voltage and the amps that is being output. But right now 12 volts at 5 amp is plenty enough to power up this quadcopter. So go on over to the start tab and just leave it there. And all you got to do is hit this enter key, and that 12 volt 5 amp of power will be going out of this XT60 connection port. So what you need to do is get yourself or make yourself an XT60 to XT60 connector, or sometimes if the quadcopter takes an XT30, then you need to have an XT60 female to XT30 connector as well, but we're going to use this one here. So just connect this cable, get it ready, and connect it to our quadcopter that needs to be bound. And now all I have to do is hit this enter key, and the quadcopter will power up, and it will in turn power up the receiver. So let's check it out. Just like that, you have powered up the quadcopter. So let's go ahead and power off. Just hit the button again and it powers off. So get yourself a little screwdriver, go ahead and hit the bind button, and with another finger just hit the enter key. There you go, green light. So now we have put the receiver into a binding mode just with the press of a button. Now you are able to bind this quadcopter to your transmitter, and that is one of my favorite features of this ToolkitRC's M6, as well as the ToolkitRC's M8 as well. Okay, so let's take a look at the settings mode. Hit enter, and here we are able to change the lowest input value that is coming in. It is preset to 10 volts, but you are able to decrease the voltage of the input power, and you can increase as well, but by default it is set to 10 volts. I'm going to leave it there. You can also change the input power. You can change the safety temperature and the safety time as well. It is set to 120 minutes, which is a little bit too much, so I'm going to go ahead and lower it down. Usually it takes about 60 minutes to charge up a LiPo battery, but I'll leave it at, see, sometimes it goes down in value and you're trying to go up. I'll leave it at 70 minutes. That sounds just about right. And we already checked out the discharge mode. It is set to recycle now. And the idle beep is set to 5 minutes. It will beep once you left it standing alone for 5 minutes to warn you. And you can also change the S-bus value. It is set to with by default. You can change the backlight. It is set to 10. I think it was set to 8 by default, and I just increased it to 10. There you go. All the way maximum is 10. And the buzzer is set to 4 by default. That is the little beeps. You can set to off. It goes up to 7. 4 is pretty good. Okay, hub support is set to off. Oops. The language is set to English, and you can also set it back to factory default values as well. All right, so that is a quick look at the new M6 multi-use charger by ToolkitRC. So if you want to check it out for yourself, the link is provided down below. I think it comes in at about $26, and it is a pretty decent price for what this little charger can do. And also, if you want to check out the M8 review video, this one here, the link I will put right up here as well as down below. And in that video, the servo checker and the receiver tester functions are explained in further details and demonstrated as well. So that is it for now for the ToolkitRC's M6 multi charger. So thank you so much for tuning in and watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you again next time.